Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the Same Old Arsenal podcast. We are back. We've had a short hiatus. We have thoroughly enjoyed our summer. There's been a little bit of football, which has helped us to scratch the itch a little bit, but the proper stuff has now started. It's me, Suburban Gooner. Chris, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. And thank you to my fabulous co-host today, Amanda, in my top right-hand corner. You all right?
Good morning, but we were back this week while you was out gallivanting.
Well, yes.
Just to say.
All right. Mr. Cook, how you doing? You all right?
I am very well, thank you, mate. It's been a long time since we've been on together, so
yes.
Perfect way to start my Sunday morning, I think.
Perfect way to start the morning. The perfect way to start your morning, if it's not watching this, it is, of course, checking out Ruth Beck Art. She is our sponsor once again for this season, and we thank her very much. Amanda, let's start off by a few lovely pictures before we get into the beauty that is the football. Let's see some wonderful pictures from Ruth. If you can check Ruth Beck Art out on her Etsy, that would be great. Amanda's popping some lovely different types of artwork that Ruth puts on. She's just done some stuff for the Gooners versus Cancer as well, which was really great. So go to her shop, type in Ruth Beck Art in Etsy, and you will find her. We are going to be talking today about the wonder that is a home win against Wolves. Amanda, I'm going to kick off with yourself. Let's talk pre-game vibes, actually. How glad were you that we are kicking off the season? Because like I said, as I was doing the intro, it scratched an itch, didn't it? The Euros and a little bit of the Olympics, but it's not like the real thing, is it? So how excited were you yesterday morning?
It's always lovely, isn't it, to go back home. You haven't been there for a while. And when you watch the Emirates Cup in the week and you see people there and it's like, okay, it's a friendly, but someone's in my seat and you're like, yeah, that's my seat. Very excited to go back, especially this season, as you're probably unaware, Chris, but Cookie and I have predicted that Arsenal are going to win the league. So I'm ready. Game one, with a 100% win rate. So that's cool. And yeah, it was lovely. And you knew it was going to be a nice sunny day and everyone was up for it and buzzy. And, all the new tops are out. And by the way, I love that new top by Monsters Inc. Is that the one you're wearing? I love that. I do not like the black kit at all, but I love that. And I think that could be purchased, especially for our honeymoon next month. That I could see strolling along the deck on the cruise with my Monsters Inc. t-shirt in, as I call it. But no, it was great to be back. Really good.
Yeah, it was lovely. Cookie. It is quite a sexy kit, I have to say. I've also bought the black goalkeeper's kit, so that'll be arriving this week.
That's cool.
But, James, initial thoughts. Talk to me about your pre-match build-up. What did you do? Where did you go? Who did you see? What were Did you get back into the swing of your rituals, or was it just like drag yourself out of bed and get yourself to the football?
No, absolutely not, mate. I was buzzing for this one. And I think that came across, hopefully it did anyway, when we did our preview show in the week, because I was just so excited to get back to the Emirates. But I've always got a bit of a strange feeling going into the first game of the season because I'm never too sure what to expect. I think you're being I was being quite optimistic when we did our preview show anyway, predicting 3-0. But in reality, for everything to click and for it to all go that well on the first game of the season and for things to just magically pick up where they left off at the end of last season, I mean, it's not always going to happen. So I was a little bit reserved. But no, I couldn't have been happier with the result. I think obviously there's things about the performance that could have been better that I'm sure we'll get onto. But a 2-0 win at home to start the new season with Kai Havertz scoring, I think that's so important. But a lot to talk about. And just really happy. In terms of pre-match rituals, nothing too exciting. I'm a very boring person, unfortunately. But I do a lovely little walk from Canonbury through Highbury Fields down to the stadium, and that's kind of my little thing that I do.
Love it. Absolutely love it. My pre-match ritual is getting myself to the pub. As you can probably hear from my voice, I had a jar or two, shall we say, in the Duchess of Kent, which is on Liverpool Road. Met a couple of familiar faces. It's quite an interesting one because they're your mates. And obviously you guys, I meet up with you during the season as well. And you got your football friends that you go along to. And it's funny how over the summer period, I'm just kind of like at the end of May or middle May, I'm like, right, see you guys in about 3 months' time, and you still talk to them on WhatsApp and stuff. But it's almost like that's your coming together. I've got my brother, niece, and nephew, and my sister-in-law over this weekend, and it's the first time they've been over for 5 years. My brother had said like to stay. And my brother had said, "Oh, what are you doing on that Saturday?" And I was like, "Well, I'm really excited to see you, but I need to go to church first." So I headed myself over to the ground, got there early, and then went to see them afterwards. We had a nice meal. But for me, it's interesting that you were talking. I don't know if Amanda, you did the pre-match when you did the prediction show. Sorry, I haven't actually watched it, so very tardy of me. But did you do predictions for the Wolves game? Because with JJ, who often comes, a friend of the pod, he's often on here, and he does the pre-match show with Cookie. JJ and I were talking on Twitter, and we both said, I fancy a 2-0 today. So that's how it played out. But talk to me about what your prediction. So James said 3-0. I don't know what you said, what your prediction was, but let's talk about your prediction, and then also starting 11. Let's go into that. So some thoughts on the starting 11.
Yeah, so I predicted 4-2. Merv and Cooks did 3-0. I just thought it was going to be one of those games that'll be free flowing. We'd make a couple of mistakes and stuff like that, but nowhere near. But just coincidentally, after the show, you tell us after the game that you got 2-0. I mean, where's the proof? I need to see this to know that
Check.
I've actually got one right.
Check Twitter. JJ and I were talking about it in the morning on the way. But carry on.
And I kept saying that I will get Chris's thing and put it in my book, but the space is missing for you. No, I thought we'd win, but I just thought it was going to be a little bit of a high-scoring match. Listen, first games, they're never spectacular, are they? You've got to get into your rhythm. It's always weird on the first day. I actually thought the atmosphere was pretty flat. At times it was good, at times, but I thought it was pretty flat. And I suppose it's just getting back into the groove of things. First 11, yeah, pretty much what I thought. Do you know what? I've never had a player like Zinni before. At left back, Zinni, I want to substitute in the first minute. In midfield, he's like a maestro. So it's like, what do we do with him? It gives me palpitations at left back, but he was the one that made the pass to Saka for the first goal. So, don't know. So I thought he'd play, but obviously was looking forward to seeing Timber. First 11 was what I expected. Maybe Martinelli, Trossard, wasn't sure, but yeah, no, all good.
Yeah, James, did you where were you at with the Martinelli Trossard thing? Because if I'm completely honest, I did think it'd be Trossard because of the end of the season that he had, but then also I thought he'd sort of slightly edged it in pre-season. Were you surprised to see Martinelli in there? And were there any other surprises in terms of the lineup and expectations?
I wasn't really surprised to see Martinelli in there purely based on the game that we'd played in the last game of pre-season against Lyon. I think that was pretty much the practice 11 for what was going to be the first game of the season. So no, I wasn't surprised. And I really think Arteta wants to make it work with Martinelli, which I really admire him for, because so do I. I really want Martinelli to work. And he wasn't bad yesterday, but he wasn't as good as we know Martinelli could be. And I do think it is a little bit ever so slightly harsh on Trossard not to start, because he did end last season being so clinical. As you say, I think he was the better of the two across pre-season. So a bit disappointed for him. He did come on, was fairly quiet when he came on, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him start that game against Aston Villa, because we'll need someone that's as clinical as he can be in a game like that. So yeah, no real surprises. I think Timber, when he came on, really shows what he can offer instead of Zinchenko. I'm sure we'll get on to talk about him. But no, in terms of the rest of the team lineup, I was pretty much expecting it.
Yeah, me too. That was the only one that I kind of went, okay, fair enough. And then, of course, game kicks off. And it felt to me like we were pretty much in control from the first few minutes. I never really ever felt, Amanda, I don't know about you, but I never really ever felt in that first half like, we were troubled too much. There was, of course, the save from it was Raya who saved from Jorgen Strand Larsen. Strand Larsen, by the way, who sounds like a Championship Manager player from the 1990s. I've got to say, it sounds like a regen player. But We did well. We started off quite comfortably. We were creating chances. One of the lads around me, after about 15 minutes, actually did say, and I don't know if you felt the same, Amanda, that it felt like we were taking more pot shots from distance than usual. Did you feel like that just before we get up to the goal? So talk to me about your general thoughts about, do you think anything changed in terms of our approach? And then we'll get on to the actual goal itself, which of course, wonderful ball from Saka and then a great header from Havertz.
No, I didn't really notice the pot shots and stuff like that. I don't think we played majorly different. I was actually a little bit, well, I shouldn't say this, critical of Partey. I thought we slowed things down, funny enough. But I'm sure we'll get on to all the players. I normally am plutzing so much, and I didn't, even in the second half. Even when we weren't that good in the second half, just didn't feel like we were that bad as people have been saying. I think we all see the game through such different eyes. I always try to be positive but realistic. We weren't great second half. It was all us first half. And no, I never had that sense of, oh my God, head in hand stuff. I thought Wolves just tried to stop us playing, and I thought they were a little bit niggly. I wouldn't say filthy dirty, but they were a bit niggly and pushing, and at times I don't know what the ref was doing. Occasionally I thought, oh, he's made a bit of a balls up there by not seeing stuff. But I honestly think Saka's just not going to be again looked after how he should be. But I wasn't ever concerned. No, I wasn't, even at the whole game really. But I would like to point out that I don't think us in the ground realised that save by Raya. I mean, I thought it was tremendous. I've seen it again. It's Seaman-esque. It is incredible. And for me, in the first half, he was my player of the first half, because I just thought, like, the first, say, half hour before the goal, I feel, touch wood, so safe with Raya in goal. And I think that this time last year, when all this happened and none of us understood why Ramsdale wasn't being played and Raya came in on loan, I think we can see why. And I think we all felt a bit like that, because we all love Ramsdale's personality and we all love Ramsdale as that person. But I have to say, and it's tough for me to say this, but Raya is definitely a level above. And I will hold my hands up to JJ, because him and actually Cole used to say that he was that level above. And I'd be sitting there going, I've got no issues with Ramsdale. But what you see from Raya yesterday and how he behaves and performs on the pitch, I can see what Arteta was doing now.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because I think Ramsdale was quoted a couple of years ago saying that sometimes he has sort of switched off in those moments. And one of the hallmarks of the best Arsenal goalkeepers that we've had, the Leymans, the Seamans, is that they don't do anything for most of the game, because, we're attacking up the other end. But then when they're called upon, they make the vital interventions at the right time. James, talk to me. Let's talk about the goal, shall we? Havertz, another good header. I saw a few people beforehand sort of questioning, I wonder how many goals he's going to get this season. I'd said sort of 15 to 18 in all comps, but he started off the way he left last season, hasn't he? And it just makes me think, if he keeps this form up, we're going to have ourselves a 20-goal striker here, aren't we?
I really hope so. And I hope that that's kind of quelled any of the talk that we desperately need a striker in, because we don't really, when you've got Kai Havertz, you've got Gabriel Jesus, and you've even got someone like Leandro Trossard that can play up top as well. I do think we need a forward in some capacity, don't get me wrong, but Kai Havertz, for me, I would definitely not be changing him as our central striker. It wasn't just that goal yesterday, but his all-round play. I just thought he was magnificent. There's one thing that I'm going to pick him up on, which I thought he could have done a bit better at. It was that moment that led to the save from David Raya. It was him trying to, maybe be playing on the side of complacency where he was trying to get out. In those situations, just got to boot it. But apart from that, his game was, brilliant. As I say, his link-up play was fantastic. He took his goal really, really well. And he looks just the epitome of someone that is full to the brim of confidence, which he didn't 12 months ago. I mean, that player that we first brought in looked a little bit reserved, a little bit like he was hiding in the shadows, whereas this guy, he's there everywhere on the pitch. And I think it's so important for him to get not just a goal, but he got an assist as well for Saka's goal. I mean, I don't know how much credit we can give him for that assist, because that was pretty much all Bukayo Saka. But look, it's an assist on paper and 2 goal contributions in the first game of the season for Kai Havertz, who a lot of people were criticising this time last year. if this is how he's going to start the season, this is how he's going to mean to go on, he will be arguably one of our most important players. So I'm buzzing for him. Really, really pleased for him, and let's hope it continues.
Can I just say something
absolutely.
about Kai? I always, and you can go back to all the videos, I always say to everybody, because it generally was, James, everyone was jumping on, why have we spent 65 million quid on this player? He's useless, he's this. I'll say it again, and I'll say it when any player signs, you have to give him time. You start a new job, you might be crap in one job and brilliant in another. I can tell you that in my job, I'm not saying I was crap, but I'm so much better with the two directors I have now that I'm flourishing so much more than I've ever done. So, and I think this relates, and I was saying this last year, this relates to Kai Havertz. He's found his home, he's found his manager, he's found his team. You know, you could tell when he scored his first goal, I think it was a penalty, that the team gave him the ball to score that on an away game. That's when we first heard the song as well. That told me something that day when I saw that, and I thought the team absolutely adore him. No one's looking at him thinking he doesn't deserve to be here. Why has Arteta chosen him, bought him, playing him? And I felt in my heart, everybody wants your players to do well, but it felt like, you know what social media like, podcasters, YouTubers, they want to be proven right where they've not been proven right. Because on our preview show, Chris, I think Carl and someone else reckoned Kai Havertz would win the Golden Goal. What's it? The Golden Award, whatever it's called. Sorry, I can't think. But people are very much can see what Kai brings. And now, when you look at the team yesterday, as James said, you do not want him out of it. You know, but this time last year, people were going, well, where should Kai Havertz play? You know, and honestly, if this can teach anybody, just have patience. Of course, not every player is going to work out, but we do have to give him time. And we're lucky Kai had that mental strength, because he knew, if you read social media, if you read the press, if you read Chelsea fans laughing the fact they've got all this money and, you know, thank God for that. And now he's one of our most treasured players. If that doesn't teach people something, I don't know what does.
Do you know what's interesting? So yes, you are right. I think confidence, as James was saying, confidence breeds a better footballer. But I think also we need to acknowledge that he started off last season as our left eight, and he's actually now ostensibly playing as our front man. And I think that makes a big difference. I mean, I'm on record here, and I will admit it again. This time last year, just before the season kicked off, I think I wrote a couple of blogs almost saying, why have we bought a striker that doesn't score goals and doesn't make assists? But happy to hold my hands up and say he's doing goals, he's doing assists, he's in form, and he also adds a lot to the team. He contributes a lot. It's his off the ball work that Arteta also loves, and that's why he keeps playing him. Like, to get him, Gabriel Jesus has obviously lost his place because of injury and things like that, but he's fit now, and Mikel Arteta loved Gabriel Jesus. But the fact that Havertz has just come in and is now our de facto number one really just shows that actually he's clearly come a long way. So really, really good. A really, really good header, James. And what I liked about it as well is it's a different type of goal. What I love about Arsenal and this Arsenal iteration is that we scored different types of goals. So talk me through your kind of thoughts around the header and
Yeah, and we should be going for more goals like that, to be honest, because you look at the size of our team now and you look at the players we can put into the box. If it's not going to be Kai Havertz, it could be Declan Rice, it could be Thomas Partey, although maybe not with his pace. But we've got players that can run into the box who are big guys that should be getting on the end of those chances. And with Kai Havertz, we just play to his strengths by doing that. So, yeah, a bit of a different goal. But, I mean, the cross, you can't take anything away from that brilliant Bukayo Saka delivery. And I know going into the game, there was a bit of debate as to whether or not we should start him. Should we start him? Should we start Declan Rice? We had to start him because Bukayo Saka, if he's not playing, I'm not entirely sure we win that game because he was that influential. And with that second goal as well, which I'm not going to jump the gun on, but he was fantastic yesterday. And again, similarly to Kai Havertz, if this is how he's going to start the season, he's just going to keep getting better and better and better. For a guy that's still only 22 years old, fantastic. I mean, Kai Havertz isn't particularly old either. What is he, 25? So I think, the team's in such a good place. Great goal to score. And, the perfect way to open our account for the season.
Yeah, what I loved about the goal was Saka, as you said, the cross almost made the goal because Havertz, all he's got to do is steer the ball in. He doesn't have to really get too much power on it. He's just got to redirect it because of the way that it was whipped in. Really good goal, Amanda. We go 1-0 up. And it felt like we were just almost playing Wolves at arm's length to me. It was like we were creating some chances. I think we had 10 attempts by half time, but we weren't really smashing down the door, were we, in that first half? We just it just felt like your classic first game of the season, let's just get the win. And as opposed to last season when we beat Forest 2-1 and Forest's goal that they scored made it a little bit nervy, it just kind of felt very, very similar in terms of the first half. Do you agree with that, or did you think we were just dominant, or what do you reckon?
Yeah, and I mean, lots of last season we were banging in 4 or 5 goals, weren't we? But not. I didn't. As I realised when we were 1-0 up, I thought this isn't going to go to my prediction of 4-2. It's not that sort of game. We've not started like that. Also, I know it sounds funny, but it was probably very hot from both teams anyway yesterday, playing in that sun. It was very warm sitting at the Emirates. It's the first game. Wolves have definitely feared us a little bit. They didn't come to lose, did they? They weren't that exciting. But we do have that issue of we need to put more of our chances away because this is the season where we have to win it. We have to win this. A trophy, something. We really, really do. This team deserves it. So we're going to have to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think, Ødegaard was running around. Unfortunately for Wolves, you can't let Saka do what Saka does. It is the trademark goal he scored. I sat there, it's right in front of me where he cuts in because I'm in the East Stand upper, and I was just like, it's going in. You let him cut in, it's in. And I tweeted about that. Really do your homework, teams. Not that anyone's listening to us. Yeah, can't let Saka do it. He will score virtually 99% of those. But I felt we just need, I think Martinelli started so well last year until he got his injury that he was banging them in as well. And I think we need to give him time. I love him. I love Martinelli and 100% want it to work. And Trossard is a fantastic super sub as well. But we do need to take more of our chances.
Yeah, James, Amanda sort of touched on it then, so let's get to it. That second goal, second half. We will talk about some of the other bits like the choke, which should have been a red card, but we'll come to that in a minute. But let's, seeing as Amanda touched on it, let's talk about that goal itself. And actually, funnily enough, Amanda, what you just said, trademark goal. I literally wrote it down in my notes, Saka trademark. So yeah. James, thoughts about the goal? It was a fantastic finish, wasn't it? And it's archetypal Bukayo Saka, right?
Yeah, and it was exactly what we needed at that point in the game because, dare I say, we were not good in the second half. I don't want to be too far on the side of being critical, but it was a bit of a sluggish, sloppy second half. We were giving the ball away so much. I mean, I've never seen Saliba give the ball away. Yes, I mean, it just kind of, it didn't fall to pieces, but these are game states that last season we would have put the game to bed. Even at 1-0, we'd have, shut up shop and just caught the team on the counter, whereas yesterday just felt like we could give the ball away at any given moment and that could lead to an opening. And Wolves were having some good chances. They had a good succession of corners as well. And, we kind of felt fortunate not to concede, but Wolves weren't clinical at all. And that goal came at just the right time in the game to alleviate the pressure. And I think everyone just took a big sigh of relief because that kind of wrapped the game up. And you don't want to say that at 2-0, all due respect to Wolves, but, given the defence we've got, you can't help but feel 2-0 now with Arsenal. It's a great feeling to have, but you're just like, okay, game is pretty much done now. And, how long have we waited to be able to say something like that? So, great goal. And again, similar to Kai Havertz, I'm so pleased with Bukayo Saka to come back off that Euros and just get straight back to business, doing what he does best. And I mean, everyone knows what he's going to do. Everyone knows what he's going to do. It's the exact same with Ian Robin. Everyone knew what he was going to do. He did it against us countless times, but you can't stop it. Doesn't matter. He's too good at it. So, great problem. Great thing to have in the team. I love Bukayo Saka, and that was just, a great goal. And I love this celebration as well.
Yeah,
like,
really.
This is what I do.
Yeah, it's just like, I'm here. This is my turf. I'm here. I'm the boss. Absolutely love it. He wears that number 7.
I don't think he was saying that, fun enough, when he did that. I think he was doing I don't know. I think he was more like, okay, a bit like that because I don't know. I don't think it was like, this is my player. I don't think he's like that. But that's in front of me as well. And I got a great picture of him doing like that. Like, okay, I'm back. Trademark. Hello. I don't know. I'd love to know what he actually meant when he did that. But you know, what I don't get, and I've seen on social media about Saka, not Arsenal fans, obviously, is they think he dives. Opposing fans, United, Tottenham, West Ham, are saying, here we go, Saka dives again. Not on that, but just an instant before. And I'm like, I'm really not a biased Arsenal fan, and people know this. And I sit there and I actually like I can't believe what I'm reading. The amount of times he gets chopped down. I mean, it wasn't horrendous yesterday, but I want a little bit of protection for him this year. He's not a dirty player. He never goes in on anyone, but he lost his rag a little bit, kicked the ball away and got a needless yellow card. Now, I get it. I get sometimes you have red mist or you get frustrated. I get it. I was quite surprised to see that from Saka yesterday. Because that could have cost us early on in the game, in an away game, 10 minutes in, he kicks the ball away. We really don't want any of that. And it is very unusual, I have to say.
Yeah, well, what's an interesting thing? I've got thoughts on this Saka being, because he's kicked so much. Obviously, it just goes down. It's just volume of actions that happen. People used to say the same thing about Wilfred Zaha and Jack Grealish, like how they go down really, really easily. I think I just take what opposition fans say with a pinch of salt, because if you've got a player that gets fouled once in a game versus a player that gets fouled 15 times in a game, what's the more likelihood? What's the more likelihood of happening in terms of that? Which player is going to go down? It's going to be the one that gets more kicks. That's going to be in that position. So I take what they say, opponent fans, with a pinch of salt. They're the same sort of fans that with tricky wide players in their clubs, they're probably all crying foul with their sort of players. I've seen some. There's a couple of Tottenham Muppets that are on Twitter that are doing the same thing. I think there's one guy called Football Confidential or something that seems to have a real problem with Saka. But hey, he's our star boy. He's an England international. He's the best player in the England team, and he did it for us again yesterday. So let's talk a little bit about some individual instances, James. How on earth is Kai Havertz being choke-holded down to the floor? And I can't remember who it was. It was right in front of me there, number 14. I can't remember. Let me have a look. What's his name? Number 14, it is Yerson Mosquera. So how on earth does he get away with not getting even a card when Granit Xhaka a few years ago, for putting his hands on the throat of a Burnley player, he gets himself sent off? Please explain.
Oh, mate, you're asking me an impossible question there, because I don't know. The only thing I can think of, and it sounds ridiculous even saying it out loud, is maybe because Havertz has instigated that particular coming together, and they've just looked at, Havertz has, made it happen. That's the reason why he's done that. But if you look at it back on the replays, it is full force that he goes in with his hand. Like, it is, if you saw that happening out in the street, you'd call the police. Like, it was that nasty of, it's not a challenge, is it? It's just violence. That's pretty much what it is. So yeah, I'm amazed I think it did go to VAR and they dismissed it. But for him to not even get a yellow card is absolutely absurd. Couldn't get my head around that. But then, I don't know if we're going to talk about the little incident later on with Gabriel Jesus, but the fact that he stayed on the pitch after what he did to Jesus as well, mental. The mind absolutely boggles. And I feel like this will not be the first time this season that we're talking about controversial refereeing decisions. But I don't know about either of you, but I thought that referee, I'm not going to say, we benefited from any poor decisions or anything like that, but I thought he was pretty rusty himself. And there were a couple of moments where he lost control of the game a little bit. I don't know if you remember. I think it might have been in the first half where there were just a succession of fouls right in the middle of the pitch. We were fouling them, they were fouling us. As soon as the ball got kicked, there were a couple of fouls. And it was just like, he was blowing the whistle for absolutely everything. And that game felt so slow at times. And he definitely contributed to that for me.
So I was just about to say the reason nothing was done was Paul Tierney was on VAR, and two people in the chat room have just said exactly that. I don't know why I looked, but this morning I was looking at who the referee was and stuff like that. Jared Gillett, but Tierney was on VAR. Right. So I knew that's where you sat, because I'm right opposite that. I couldn't really see what had gone on. All I could see was Jesus reacting. And I was like saying to Carl, for God's sake, he's got to stop reacting. We couldn't see it. And, they don't replay stuff like that. But wow, honestly, when people say we get away with stuff, they don't really know what they're talking about. They don't watch every instant that we see. Game 1, 2 of them should have been off. I mean, that is a chokehold, what they did to Jesus. But I agree with the guys in the chat room. It is because Paul Tierney, how he's on VAR, how this is still going on, I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. And the choke bit just really stunned me because because it's so close. I mean, I'm 11 rows from the corner flag, so it's right in front of me. And like he goes down, and he could even put his hand somewhere else, but he deliberately puts his hand and presses. It's bizarre. It should have been a red card. The good thing is that the performance was so sort of perfunctory and comfortable for Arsenal that we didn't need to worry about it by the end. And as you said, Cookie, like as soon as it was 2-0, even though that happened beforehand, when it's 2-0, you're like, well, this game is done and dusted. Individual performance wise, I've seen a few people on social media, so I want to get your take, James, around Partey, because I thought Partey was pretty good. He did make a couple of sloppy mistakes, but I think that almost colours your perspective of the game. Like 1 or 2 big mistakes almost overrides your general opinion about how he actually moved the ball around. What was your take on Partey, his performance? Do you think, as some people have said online, he was bad enough to not even be considered for starting next week against Villa?
No, he wasn't that bad. And like you say, a couple of mistakes in the second half definitely gives you, the red mist descends and you're kind of like, okay, this guy's finished, he's washed. But I actually thought he was really good in the first half. I thought he did some really good things. He played a beautiful pass through to Bukayo Saka, which on another day could have ended up in a goal. For me, it's just his fitness that is a big problem, because in the second half, particularly around the 60-minute mark, when Wolves were pressing on us, I thought he was looking very, very, very leggy. And he was one of those players that was at fault for giving the ball away a hell of a lot. And in any other position, that's not too much of an issue. But the fact that he's playing in probably, when you're defending, one of the most important roles in the pitch, that is a big concern for me. And I think, we could say the same about Zinchenko. I saw he got a lot of criticism yesterday, which I couldn't quite justify myself. I thought Zinchenko was fine yesterday. There were a couple of moments where he gave the ball away, but you know what you're getting with Zinchenko. Defensively, I don't think he was that shoddy. There was one moment where he ran into traffic and Wolves had an attack which didn't lead to anything. But apart from that, he was fine. But I think, we're looking at a couple of players now, Zinchenko and Thomas Partey. These are the guys that, Arsenal fans have always got a couple of guys that they want to criticise week in, week out. I saw people on social media making compilations of the two of them and, picking out all the mistakes in their games. Look, these are not things that are beneficial to the players. So let's try and focus on the things that they did particularly well. And Partey's passing movement in the first half was good, but we do have to be acutely aware of the things that he did do poorly in the second half. And I'd be lying if I said that his position isn't a big worry for me, because it's not just him, it's Jorginho as well. Those two as our number 6 options going into the season, I think that's a worry, because they're both on the wrong side of 30. And, at 31 and 32, they're by no means finished. But Partey more than Jorginho looks to have fitness problems. So I wouldn't be surprised if going into the Villa game, we did see Partey come out and Jorginho come in. That midfield three of Jorginho, Rice, Ødegaard worked so well last season. Equally, I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say we get the Marino deal done, we saw Rice drop into 6, Marino play at 8, or even someone like a Kai Havertz or a Fabio Vieira play at left 8. For the record, I don't want to see Kai Havertz there, but I'm just thinking in the mind of Mikel Arteta. So we've got options there, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we saw Declan Rice more at 6. And although I love him higher up the pitch because he can win the ball there, and I think that leads to so many good attacks for us, for the good of the team, if we get someone like Marino in that can flourish in left 8, then I've not really got too much of an issue playing Declan Rice a bit deeper, because he is world class in that position. And let's not forget, when we are playing teams at home like Wolves, teams that we can really press up against, even if he's playing at 6 on paper, he can push further up the pitch and win the ball further up the pitch. That's how good Declan Rice is. He's got that much athletic ability. So yeah, concerns about Partey, but I think there's gonna be a solution to this, and I do think Arteta is aware of that, and that's why we're bringing in someone like Marino.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to say that to you before, but you kind of you took the words right out of my mouth, which was, and we'll talk about Rice in a second in terms of his performance yesterday. But Amanda, I think as well, we're going to start looking and seeing more of Rice in at the 6, particularly if we get Marino in. But you were shaking your head, Amanda, when I was talking about James and I were talking about Partey, and we didn't think he was too bad other than the sloppy bit. So I want to give you an opportunity, a right of rebuttal. as they would say in the
No,
law.
listen, I don't think he's terrible, and I've always loved Party. I do think fitness is a concern as we have it year in, year out. I just feel like there were at times, even though I was saying to Carl and Carl was arguing me about it, I just feel like he slowed the game down. He didn't know where to pass. Second half, I'm talking more than first half. And I was like, we need to break quicker. And I think with Erdegaard, Rice, Martinelli, they do break quicker. And I was just looking at Party going, pass the ball, you know. And listen, he's a wonderful passer of the ball. I'm not saying I would never consider. I haven't woken up this morning and thought we shouldn't play at Wolves. I haven't thought that. Listen, first game, nothing spectacular.
At Villa, Amanda, at Villa. It's the other
Sorry,
Midlands
Warwick,
team.
sorry. Villa on Saturday. No. People said he shouldn't have been considered for Wolves yesterday. Sorry, that's what I meant. I didn't think that. I was quite pleased to see him in the team. I've always loved Thomas Partey. Outstanding player when he's fit. But as people are saying in the chat, he's going to be injured soon. We're all just waiting for it. But I think if we can keep him fit, get this Marino in, we're going to have choices, and that's what we need in midfield. We do have them in other parts, defence and forward now, but we don't have that in midfield. That quality. So keep Partey fit, get Marino in, move Declan Rice to wherever you want, but he's definitely the first name on my team sheet for midfield.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Rice then, because I've seen a couple of people in the chat saying it didn't really work with him at left 8. I think that's a little harsh. I do think, and I'd love to get your views, James. I do think that perhaps he was a bit leggy. I think Arteta was asked about that afterwards, about Saka and Rice, the fact that they went all the way to the final. Rice looked leggy to me yesterday, and normally he's kind of that kind of he's a player that you know is adding value and you can see it. But I didn't see, I don't remember talking or saying his name out loud much yesterday. It just felt like he was quite quiet. Do you think that was more a fatigue thing, or is just a bit rustiness? What was your general thoughts about Rice, his fitness, and then also this kind of idea that some have said in the chat that he doesn't quite work at left 8?
I think it was a bit of fatigue more than anything. I didn't look at Rice yesterday and think this guy's had a poor game. It was more that he wasn't as influential in the game as he normally is. So yeah, I mean, a little bit disappointing in that sense. But in terms of him playing left 8, I disagree. I do think it really, really does work. I don't think he's got as good of an attacking nous as some of the other options you could have there. And I hope that by adding in someone like Mikel Merino, he's able to bring a bit more in terms of goals and assists. Not that Declan Rice didn't do that last season. He was really good at doing that. But I still think he can get goals and assists from, the number 6 role, because he's going to be taking corners for us. As I say, he can still get further up the pitch when we're really penning teams in. So I'm still really excited about what Declan Rice is going to offer us this season. Hopefully with a player like Merino in there as well. He's still got a lot to offer this team. I think when he's playing in that left 8 role, he is just able to win that ball a bit further up the pitch, but he's not got quite that ability that Granit Xhaka had. And he's always going to be the player that we're comparing him to, because he was just exceptional in that 2022-23 season where do you remember those balls he used to ping in from the left-hand side all the time? And he was so good at doing it. And then he'd be in those goal-scoring positions. Declan Rice hasn't quite got that. So look, I've not got a problem with him moving back to 6. I think what you gain from him being at 8 is the ability to win the ball up higher, as I've mentioned numerous times now. I'm not going to say it again, but what you get from him at 6 is a world-class player that's going to be able to shield the defence, but also has really good ability in terms of passing the ball, getting forwards where he has to as well. And let's face it, Declan Rice is kind of everywhere in the midfield anyway, so it doesn't really matter where he lines up on paper. We just need someone that can contribute more in terms of goals and assists from that left 8 role. So yeah, I just think he's just getting up to speed. I reckon against Villa away, where we're probably going to have a bit more defending to do, you're going to see a much better version of Declan Rice in that game.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's the good thing about having him at left 8 is he effectively, because you said he covers so much of the pitch, at times he's basically playing in a double pivot because he drops back, as it is like with a Partey or a Jorginho, whoever it is. Amanda, just before we... quick one. If you want to pop any questions in, Amanda's starring some questions. So for the last 5 minutes or so, we'll try and get through some questions.
Can I just say something about Declan Rice?
Well, I was going to just bring you in and say, do you want to have a word or two on Declan Rice?
Sorry, I thought you were moving on, and I cannot not talk about Declan Rice every single show. His corners are incredible. Have we ever had a corner taker like this? That literally, when we got a corner, I looked over and I thought, oh my God, it's Declan Rice taking it. It's his side. This is just going to be awesome. And it was awesome. They're awesome every single corner. So this is another part to our game that is brand new for us, that we actually get excited when we get a corner. Listen, game one, I don't feel too critical. I'm pleased I'm pleased we got a clean sheet, 3 points under our belt. We move on to Villa.
Yep, exactly. And so that's it really. Like there are times when we do this podcast where we've got so much content to get through in the game that normally we get to an hour and we're almost a bit like, oh, we're just about getting to the second half. But this was such a routine performance that we've sort of done all of the bits. We're on 40 minutes and we've sort of done all of the actual moments from the game. So I want to kind of move us on. So what we'll do is let's talk about the upcoming matches, and Amanda surely will want to get her book out so that we have to do some sort of predictions. So that was really, really important, James, wasn't it? Because remember, what was it, 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago? I think it was 3 seasons ago. We started off with Brentford at home, Brentford away, and then we had 2 or 3 really difficult games, and we were bottom of the league after 3 or 4 matches because we'd lost all 3. And that first game against Brentford, I remember back then thinking, we need to get the 3 points on the board because it's going to be difficult to get the next 3 points against City and Chelsea and whatever it was. So I do think this is a better team. This is a team that's capable of delivering victories in these tough upcoming games. But for you, just a final sort of word on the match yesterday. How important was it just to get that 3 points on the board? Sounds like quite an obvious sort of statement to make, but in the context of the fixtures coming up, I mean.
Yeah, vital. Really, really vital. Like you say, when we had that game against Brentford and it just started off as bad as it possibly could have done, it kind of set the tone for those upcoming fixtures as well. So I think we've laid down a marker. It wasn't like a thumping 5-6-0 win like Arsenal were here, they're definitely going to win the league this season. But it was a fairly solid, comfortable, dominant 2-0 win. Nothing too much to be overly critical about, and hopefully we can take this performance and a little bit more into the games against Villa, City, Spurs. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really pleased to be getting those 3 away games out of the way quite early on. If we get good results in them, then not having to worry about them in the second half of the season is quite a nice situation to be in. Looking at our season, our fixtures post Christmas, I mean, you're playing each team twice, but those games after Christmas do look a little bit easier for us, and I think that could be vital for us because if we peak at the right time, then being able to have a nice run of fixtures is only going to benefit how the team plays. So excited about those games. A little bit nervous. I think Villa is a really good opportunity for us to get one over on Unai Emery, which is owed, certainly due as well. So I watched them yesterday against West Ham, and I think they've definitely got defensive lapses. So I would expect us to exploit them. But we all know Villa away, such a tough game. So I would like to see a bit more defensive stability in there. And I can already see Amanda starring some of the questions coming into that game. So I'm not going to jump the gun on that just yet.
Yeah, we'll get to those questions in a second.
Are we doing predictions or not?
We'll do it in a second because I want to get your
fine.
take on it first, Amanda, of the upcoming fixtures. So just as a reminder to everyone, we've got Villa away next Saturday, 5:30 kickoff. We've got Brighton at home, which is a 12:30 kickoff the following Saturday. We've got the Scum a week later. No, 2 weeks later because there's an international break. Then we've got Man City before we then play Arsenal, Leicester. I actually disagree with James. He said he's happy to get them out of the way. But for me, I quite like being able to build momentum. So I like sort of 5 or 6 games where you can get on a winning run because I think that really builds the confidence. Where do you stand in terms of, would you rather get them out of the way, difficult games out of the way, or would you rather, like me, build momentum?
Weirdly, I never look at fixtures. I just know what the next one is. Getting towards April time, I know what every next game is. But because I'm on my honeymoon, I have looked at every fixture in the next 4 weeks. So I know for a fact that Arsenal, when they go to City, I'll have to watch it in a bar on a cruise ship. So I know what's coming in the next month. So I've looked at this and I've thought, okay, get Villa out of the way this Saturday, lovely. Okay, then we play Brighton. So if we do those 3 games and we have won, and the momentum's there, bring on Spurs. Absolutely bring on Spurs. I may have liked to have played City a month later. They generally get going the second half of the season, so I get where Cookie's coming from. that it's good to get them out the way. But they are, I mean, I say it again, we lost to Villa at home. Brighton, a bloody tough side to play. There's not really generally that many games that you're going to go to. And we were all confident against Wolves yesterday, but they're all tough, Chris. So I don't think it generally matters. All I know is that by the time I get back from honeymoon, I'm just praying that we have won every game. That would just set our stall out. Whether it's realistic or not, I don't know. We have to wait and see. But
yeah,
I'm sort of with you both. Maybe not all of them, but I'm happy to play. Tottenham are just whatever. But Tottenham away, I'm pleased about, because that's between getting married and going away. I really wouldn't have wanted to go to the Emirates on the weekend before I leave, and have that. Tottenham away, I think we'll be okay, but let's just see. I always like to just go on the next game. The next game is Aston Villa. It's going to be bloody tough.
It is going to be tough. Do you want to do some predictions?
Well, I've gone. I went 3-2 when you were talking. And I thought, no. I'm going to go Arsenal 2, Aston Villa 1. But I think it's going to be really, really tight. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw. I'm not going for a loss, but I think my heart's going with 2-1. So that's what I'm doing. What's yours, James?
Put me down for I think put me down for a 1-1. Cookie?
I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to go for carbon copy of yesterday, 2-0 to Arsenal.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah,
That'd
in
be
my
nice.
book.
It'll be nice. I think it will be a tight game. It will be a very, very tight game. And as you said, Amanda, we just, it feels like, I feel like people have asked me, how are you going to do this season? And I keep saying, ask me in October. Because if we've gone on a winning run, we'll have played City away, we'll have played Tottenham away, we'll have played Villa away. If we've won, so I think it's Wolves, Villa, City, Tottenham, Brighton, 5 games. If we've picked up 13 points, I'll be saying it's on. You can write that down somewhere, Carl Stark. I'll be saying it's on. If we've 13 to 15 points from those first 5 games, I don't think it'll happen, but I would absolutely take that. Do you want to do some questions, Amanda? So we'll wrap up today with some questions.
Yeah, get your questions in. We don't have that many, and considering there's nearly 800 people watching us, come on with your questions. I know it's early, and you've probably got a lot of hangovers. I would just like to say a few hellos. Hello to Hilsey in the chat room. No, we don't want to buy your hangover, but I did, and I would like to just mention Super Kev and the minute applause
lovely
for him, and the fact the whole ground was singing Super Kevin Campbell. Obviously, you all know that I was pretty close to Kev. It was really hard yesterday, sobbed during that minute's applause, but loved hearing the ground singing his name. And I thought Arsenal as classy as ever with that. And I know he probably would have just gone, get on with the game, PG, get on with the game, PG, because that's what he was about. He was Arsenal. Everton did a lovely thing on 10th minute as well for him. So absolutely well respected, and thanks to all the Arsenal fans that did sing. It was lovely. Also, it was lovely just to see Simon Lester. Thank you for getting up this morning, because he's in the chat room and I bumped into him outside the Emirates. Met up with Tara as well. It is lovely to have those rituals of don't see people for months and then you just bump into people. Chris, I saw that you bumped into our mate of the show, Albert.
Yeah, lovely.
It's lovely. I've met Albert before, and I've bumped into you, Chris. But Cookie, we never see you. We never see you anywhere. We just don't bump into our captain.
Well, you got to catch me in Highbury Fields, Amanda. Like I say, Canonbury to Highbury Fields, I walk in one straight line.
And right,
you stop on that line, you'll see me.
Everyone go and stalk him. Where is it you go?
Canonbury.
Canonbury. Right. So yes, let's get some questions. Right. Fiona, welcome to the show, our lovely Fee. Do you think we'll make any more signings, Chris?
Yes, Mikel Merino. I also think it'll depend on what happens with Nketiah and Nelson. If we sell both of them, make some money, we will have to go into the market and get a wide forward. But I'm kind of okay. If someone could give me a crystal ball and I could see that Gabriel Jesus stays fit for at least 2/3, 3/4 of the season, and Havertz as well, I'm kind of okay having Eddie and Reece as our kind of third choices to play minimal number of minutes. What about you, James?
Yeah, I definitely think we'll make more signings. Marino, I'm almost certain is going to come in, and then I hope we sign a forward as well. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we see some movement for Nketiah. I have no idea about Nelson. Like, there seems to be zero interest in him at the minute. Was on the bench yesterday, so I'm not sure if he's still part of Arteta's plans. We know he likes him, but he doesn't really show that in terms of the opportunities he gives him. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jakub Kiwior left as well. He wasn't even in the team yesterday. So I still think there's going to be a lot of movement. I mean, there's less than 2 weeks to go in the market now. So I would expect to see both significant incomings and outgoings.
So who will buy Nketiah? Colin Addy wants to know.
I have absolutely no idea.
Do you think it'll be a League Division 1, as I call it, team?
No.
Or,
They-
right, you
No,
think someone in the Prem?
His wages will be
they'll
too
want
much.
somebody in the Prem. I've seen something this morning which suggested that Everton might be in for him, and that kind of it makes sense. But Everton haven't really got any money, have they? Because they've had to do like the PSR stuff, so I don't really see Everton giving.
I could see him going on loan.
I mean, loan with an obligation to buy type thing.
Obligation or option, but I think I just don't see him getting any minutes at Arsenal at the minute. I mean, his last start for us was at Fulham away in that game where we played absolutely dreadfully and lost the game 2-1, and he has played a cluster of minutes since then. And we've got too many options at centre forward now, whether it's Havertz, whether it's Jesus, whether it's Trossard. He just doesn't start in front of any of those, which is a shame, but he needs to go somewhere and play football. So if we could loan him out to an Everton or a Palace or whoever, he's still got years on his contract. If he went and bagged a load of goals or even got 10 plus, then we could sell him for a decent fee next summer. He just needs to be put in the shop window, to use that old cliche.
Yeah.
Okay. Talking about David Raya, Yomi says, is that save better than his save against Spurs at home?
No, I don't think so, because the North London derby always ups the ante in terms of the intensity. I thought that was a better save against Tottenham. And yesterday's save was good because he was shifting his weight as he was going back across goal. But I still think the Tottenham one was better.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for your question, Yomi. Okay, Phil Macker, welcome to the show, Phil. So how do we get protection for our players if the VAR officials are not doing their job properly?
Well, we ask this question every single season, don't we?
Yeah.
There's no answer to it, unfortunately. Honestly, I don't know how you answer that one. Until you've got more competent people officiating the games, then it's just not going to happen. I mean, look at the amount of time Saka was fouled yesterday, and who's the one that ends up with the yellow card? Bukayo Saka. It's crazy.
Yeah, but he did deserve the yellow card, whatever way you look at it.
He did, but so did like half of the Wolves team.
Absolutely, but he kicked the ball away after the whistle was blown, so that's an actual factual. I've got no arguments for that. I've got the other argument with the other Wolves players not being booked. I get that. Chris, anything to add to that?
No, I think we're just going to have to just deal with it. We've been dealing with it for a couple of seasons now. I'm just kind of like, we're just going to have to deal with it, moan when it happens, and move on with our lives.
Okay. Cole Stark, welcome to the show. How many points do we get from our next 3 away games? So you were touching on that before, Chris, that you're a bit concerned we're playing them too early.
I think we will end up with... do you know what? I'm going to change my prediction. I think we're going to beat Villa 1-0, but I think we're going to end up with 4 points. I think we'll beat Villa. I've got a feeling that the same old will happen at Man City, and maybe we'll draw against Tottenham.
So you're going for 8 points. Is that what you're saying?
No, 3 points against
Villa.
7
points.
1 point against Tottenham, and 0 points against City.
Okay. So 4 points out of possible 12. Cooks?
I'm going to be optimistic and say 7.
Yeah, sorry, 9, not 12. Right, I'm saying 9. I think we're going to beat City this year. The first time I ever went to the Etihad, we beat City. So I'm not going, but obviously I won't be here. But I think we're going to do it. I think we're going to do it. Okay, so hopefully that's answered your question, Carl. Let's have a look. Phil says, does Timer, I think he means Timber, start against Villa?
I've got him on my fantasy football team, which I think is a difficult one because I think he'll rotate at times. I think he might actually, instead of Zinchenko. I think he might, yes. I'm going to say yes.
I think he should as well. because Zinchenko, like I said earlier, don't think he was bad yesterday, but we all know his defensive lapses. And if we say start him and Thomas Partey in the same team, I just can't, face the prospect of us going to Villa away and giving the ball away as much as we did yesterday, because that's going to lead to them getting some really good chances on goal. So I would like to see Timber come in. I thought he was really, really solid when he came on yesterday. There were barely any attacks down our left-hand side. One slight moment of complacency. I don't know if you remember when he did that little pirouette round a player, tried to do it again.
Yeah.
And it ended up on Wolves having a really good chance on goal. But apart from that, I thought he was really solid. And he looks really sharp as well. So, yeah, I'd be starting Timber.
Okay, cool. That's it for questions.
That is it for questions. Okay, fine. So we're going to wrap up a little bit earlier than usual. I think as we were talking about, as I mentioned, probably because it was a standard win. We got the win, 3 points on the board. That's all you can ask for. First game of the season in the sunshine, seeing friends again. You don't want to get a bloody nose and end up with a little bit of a surprise on the first game. So we managed to do the business, and we go again next weekend. I'm actually in Portugal next weekend, so I'll be watching it from my parents' house in Portugal, which will be absolutely lovely. So Amanda, what's up? And Cookie, are you going to do a preview show as well?
I didn't want to announce this on air, but I'm not going to be doing preview shows this season, unfortunately, unless it's a special occasion. But yeah, I'm sticking to the post game where I know I can be more committed.
We'll do that then, Amanda. So I guess there's nothing more for us to say than to hand over to you to do your closing bit.
Yeah, I would also like to say that I forgot to mention this, that Everton, the Winslow Hotel, we're giving a free beer to anyone that walked in with a Dickie Bow yesterday. It just shows how much he was loved by both clubs. So thanks for reminding me, Colin, on that one. Yeah, we'll be back. I'm assuming, well, if you're in Portugal, are you able to do a post-game show next Sunday morning?
Yeah, maybe. We'll talk
Well,
about that off air.
9:30 to 10:30, so you might be up. If not, hopefully me and Cookie will do that. But you see, we don't need to announce it, because surely all of you have subscribed to our channel and pressed the bell. Then you're never going to miss anything. Following us on the Same Old Arsenal on Twitter, follow our single accounts on Twitter too. Also, we're
And
on
on Threads.
Instagram. Oh, what's this Threads thing? Come on, tell us all about it.
I'm on Threads. It's basically the same account as Instagram. If you're on Threads, then come and find me, Suburban Gooner, same account as on Twitter. And it's just a bit of a nicer community, frankly, than some of the stuff that's happening on social media with Twitter. So if you are on Threads, have a look at me. I'm sure I can drag Cookie and Amanda onto it eventually, but we'll talk about that separately. But Amanda, over to you to wrap us up for the day.
Yeah, thank you to everyone that's joined us today. We really, really appreciate you getting up early, coming to see us, coming to chat with us about the Arsenal. We will be back shortly. Just come and follow us on YouTube. Press the bell. Please press like when you leave. Please leave all your comments in YouTube. I do try and get back to most of them. And we will be doing, although we're not doing preview shows, we might do guest shows with friends of the shows coming on as well. So enjoy your Sunday, everybody. Have a wonderful day. I can't say we're top of the league. We got a clean sheet, 2 goals. On to Villa we go. Remember, always Arsenal. Bye, everyone.